Hello, Nora here. Welcome to this little unscripted video where we explore my Windows setup script. Um, there are a lot of videos out there where people explore their Linux setup scripts, but Windows ones aren't that common. So I thought, let's show off mine. It is based on Clint Rutzka's script. Um, which can be found at github.com/setup, but it doesn't have that many things in common, right, currently. But originally was based on that. You can find mine at github.com/nora-junker/setup, and it will also be linked in the description. So yeah, we will go line by line through each of the scripts. Yes. So it all starts with boot.cmd, which will execute this PowerShell script. I did this so it is important that it starts in the old PowerShell, and like this, I don't forget which PowerShell version I wanted to use. Yeah, then it goes into boot.ps1. First we have a parameter install personal tools that defaults false. This indicates whether I'm setting up a machine for development purposes or for my personal purposes. Then we have this little section here that checks that the current drive is the C drive, because the script can only operate from the C drive. Here we print out the arguments for the script. This line turns off progress bars, and the next line, all confirmation prompts. So all confirmation prompts will automatically be answered as yes. Then we forcing winget to be installed. With this one, this is from the repo of Clint Rutkas. It basically ensures that a good enough version of winget is available on the system. It's yeah, exactly, it's 1.1.6. Then we continue in the boot script, and we check whether the script was started as administrator. If not, we terminate, because all the installers need need administrator rights. Then we have 5 different configuration files. We will look at them later in the video. Then I personally only want the preview version of Windows Terminal to be installed, because if you have more than one terminal version installed, sometimes it opens this, sometimes it opens the preview version, and it can get messy in my honest opinion. So I just uninstall the Windows Terminal and install the preview Windows Terminal. Then we install PowerShell 7, the newer PowerShell that is for whatever reason not bundled with Windows. I still don't get that. Then we're installing the Nerd fonts with the setup font script. I'm using Cascadia Code. Yeah, exactly. I know there's an official Cascadia Code from Windows, but I haven't changed to that, or I haven't tried it out yet. So maybe this could be let out in the future. Well, it downloads from this repository. That's not what I wanted to. it, it downloads from this repository into the temp folder, then unzips the zip file, and then for each of the TTF files, it puts the font into the fonts folder. This line, it gets the current location, and here it sets it back so that the script gets put back where it were in the beginning. Then we continue. If we want to install the personal tools, it will do some changes to Outlook. These ones I can actually delete these ones I just saw, because I'm using the new Outlook and that has no effect on that one. It then installs the Office and the personal tools configuration files, which as said, we will look at later. Yeah, each of these winget configuration commands disables interactivity and initial details and automatically accepts the configuration agreement. So the whole script is designed that no further user input is needed. Then it sets up the dev environment also with a configuration file. Then for Visual Studio, it clones the the Microsoft PowerTools repository, and then uses the configuration file that comes with that repository. I do that because this configuration file covers a lot of the workloads I always need. So most of them are automatically installed for me as soon as I use this configuration file. Then it removes the repository again. Then we apply the settings for Visual Studio. I can show you my Visual Studio here. And I usually have a wide monitor, so now everything looks a bit tight, but normally it's wider. Just for the sake of this video, I made a 19 to 6, no, a 16 to 9 ratio. Yeah, I have like vertical tabs. My projects are here on the side with the git changes and the class view, properties, find and replace. Here, the output, developer shell, and error list. And yeah, everything, I deleted most of the things in my Visual Studio interface. Like the menus are all very narrow. I don't need more features. Also, like here, like normally you have this big of, wait, my hands need to be the camera. Yeah, I have this big of a context menu, and that's just distracting. So I just delete out everything I don't need. Yeah, same goes for the toolbars and everything. Yeah, GitHub Copilot Chat is here, and yeah, like the help and view menu just have the task list, test explorer we sometimes need, and properties windows also here, and show and the last closed tool window and what's new. And file is just start window and manage extensions. I don't need more. I don't miss anything when I'm just like this. Also, here I have go to implementation, find all references, and open Copilot Chat. I don't need more than that in this context menu. Everything else I know the shortcuts for, or I can just search it up. Exactly, then I'm configuring PowerToys. I have like a list of modules I want to install, and then for each it installs them in PowerShell 7, like the new PowerShell, the one with the pwsh command. To go through them, ps_readline is like the Microsoft implementation of different tasks that you can do like in the command line. Like if I open terminal here, like this whole history here comes from ps_readline. Then we have completion predictor that predicts some of the completions shown here, or like Um, yeah, it shows which how do you call that? Which parameters a command has. Then the Azure PowerShell module, the Azure AD PowerShell module, the Azure AD Preview PowerShell module, then the Microsoft 365 Community PowerShell module, then the Winget Autocomplete module, which provides autocompletion for for Winget, like that's not what I wanted. Yeah, like you can see all the commands. And Git completion with the same thing for Git. Then I update the help I execute update help confirm. Then I'm configuring PowerToys with the PowerToys configuration file. This one is really outdated and I will have to create a new one in the future. I'm not even sure if it works anymore. Then configuring the environment, we'll also have a look at that. Then I'm removing unneeded system components like everything mixed reality, Xbox gaming overlay, some compatibility features I don't need. Then these two lines ensure that when like here I uninstall the Xbox overlay, but games still try to open it, which can be very annoying. So these two registry keys suppress that. Then we're setting up the dot files, which we'll have a look last, and then we're done. So let's look at the configuration files. First is the developer file. And in case you don't know, configuration files are here to bring your machine into a certain state. Yeah, exactly, in a certain state. And you describe what exactly that state is. And there are certain, I call them now state providers. So first we enable developer mode in Windows, this one here. Then we set the taskbar allowing middle, show the search box, show the task view button, show the widgets button, which I actually often use. People are surprised by that, but I use the widgets. Then file explorer settings, file extensions show, hidden files. I actually like them hidden. If I don't want something to be hidden, I just show it. Like I uncheck the hidden checkbox in the file properties, and item checkboxes. I also don't like these. Then I'm a light mode user, as you has probably noticed. So we're setting this here. Then we're installing Git and the GitHub CLI. Wait, there. Yeah, that's actually a logic flaw because I have to have Git first so I can install the PowerToys repo. I think I probably should switch that around. Yeah, good. Then Visual Studio Code Insiders. Um, the Microsoft PowerShell 7 should also be installed by here, but it will just install it again. PowerToys installed, the JetBrains Toolbox, FFmpeg. Then the GNU Midnight Commander, if you don't know what that is, that's a file manager for the terminal. With MC, you can bring that up. There's two windows. Yeah. Um, then NeoVim, that's the editor I'm using here. Node.js, Python. Suckside is that I can cd into any directory I've been previously in. Like I can make cd PowerToys and I get redirected to k PowerToys where I have the PowerToys repo saved. And I don't have to first go cdk and then cd PowerToys or cdk PowerToys. I can just type cd PowerToys and it will go to the one I used most. Then we have SCC. SCC is a code counter utility that counts your lines and characters in code very accurately. I love it. And last in this file we have ISA. I hope that's how you spell it. That's basically a modern replacement for ls with icons, current git status, date modified. You can customize this however you want. How I customized it, I will also show later. Good. Then we have the environment variables. This just puts all the .NET tools into the path variable, the midnight commander, so the MC command, the putty command, and the 7-zip command all into the path file so that I can use them from the terminal. Then we have Office, installing Office and Teams. Should be very easy. Then the personal tools that only get installed when you have the personal tools flag set. That's WhatsApp, Signal, that's the messaging app I use, Discord, OBS Studio to record, Audacity, 7-zip for for so for extracting archives, Adobe Creative Cloud, VLC Media Player, WinMerge. That's a very handy file comparison tool. And like if we just take this here, you can see this character is different than here. Yeah. Then I actually switched from that away. I will change that. I used Arc for a long time. Nowadays I use Zen browser, which is similarly, but it's based on Firefox and works better than Arc for Windows. Then the new Microsoft Outlook and Threema, that's like also a messaging app. And last but not least, PowerToys. But yeah, as already said, that's just I don't think that's working anymore. Or when then it's absolutely outdated. Then we have the dot files. This now looks complicated, but it's actually very smart. It tests if I have a function that makes a link, but only not you can only create links between files if they are on the same drive. So it tests if they are on the same drive, and when yes, it makes a hard link, and if not, it just copies the file to the destination. Yeah, I think we'll just go through each of the dot files. So the first file is the git config file that has like my name and mail, the credential provider, like set as GitHub. The GitHub provides the credential. I always write the wrong command. Then my basic Vim file, like for all my editors, like Visual Studio and Visual Studio Code, I use Vim Motions. I want relative numbers. These are the numbers here on the side, like relative one up and one down. Then numbers that the numbers are shown. Backspace like mode like 2 equals 2. So yeah, that you can delete over lines. Like if I click backspace here, it goes to the line. That's not default behavior. And yeah, I just had a moment to think, but I honestly don't know. So it remaps P to remap from the Yank register, but isn't that default behavior? Uh, I'm 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 not so sure right now. Yeah, but it does its job. I'm sure it has its purpose. Then yeah, we're going to go through that. That's the VS settings file, which is generated automatically. Then yeah, I have a map network drives file that basically loads every network drive you have connected to your PC upon starting the computer. So you don't have to go and basically normally they only load once you click on them in Explorer once, but I have some of my path variables that point to a network drive with many software on it, so I need to have this started at the beginning. Yeah, then my PowerShell profile. This is the one that gets executed at the beginning of the PowerShell session. First, we're importing the modules that were explained previously. Then we set an alias from code to code insiders because, as said, I'm installing the insiders version of Visual Studio Code, but I still want to be able to just type code to open it. Then for all the Win users, colon Q goes to the exit function, which is yeah, this one here, which just exits the PowerShell session. Then for my convenience, CDC goes to my user profile, CDK goes to K, and that's that's my dev drive with all my source code files on them, and CDR goes to downloads. On this computer, my downloads folder is the R drive, that's why it's R, while on other PCs I still like unconsciously type CDR if I want to go to the downloads folder. And CDD is the same with the documents folder. Here we define MC as Open Midnight Commander, which basically opens the Midnight Commander with the K drive and my user profile on the right side. Then, because I always forget what the STC file is, the STC command is, I just made a count lines function, which basically does the same. And if you're wondering, this PS bound parameters values plus args, that just takes every argument that gets passed to calling this function. Like if I call this with all, or I don't know if that's a real parameter, but then it will be just passed to the SCC, to SCC. And then I define ls, is the ls replacement. ISA is what I showed previously, the ls thing. I have icons always, a list, and with git, and then we init sockside and clear the host. Then we have the Windows PowerShell profile. Here I just write a warning using a legacy version of PowerShell. It's not really legacy, but it's just what I call it. It's just that I actively see when I'm using PowerShell 5 instead of PowerShell 7, which can sometimes be confusing. Then the terminal settings, that's best if I just show you. My default profile is PowerShell 7, and it applies this monstrosity here, which basically just calls VSWhere. With VSWhere is the tool that can tell you where Visual Studio is installed, because I always want to open the developer shell of the developer shell of Visual Studio. With dash pre-release, it will always take the newest release and dash latest, and then I take the resolved installation path, and then from there I import the module. Then I use VSWhere again to get the instance ID, enter VS dev shell with that ID, and yeah, and then when I open it, I get directly booted into the developer shell for Visual Studio. My drop-down menu are command prompt, PowerShell, Debian, if I have it installed on WSL, and then other, where all the other profiles that are automatically generated go. If you're interested, I use a copy of Solarized Lite that, like here, it has two colors that you cannot read in this theme. I don't know why they are in this theme if you cannot read them, but I replace them with like darker colors. Yeah, I use this Cascadia Cove Nerd font. It has ligatures, so like yeah, so like exclamation mark and equal sign results into this symbol. I personally like that, but I know that's very a very debated topic. I use font size 12. Of course, in appearance, I also have the background opacity you can see here with acrylic background exactly. And then last but not least, the winget settings, which just enable pixels. These are images that can be seen in the terminal when you install a winget file. Progress bar is also set to pixel. Interactivity is disabled, and the experimental features are set here. Yeah, and that's it. That's my whole Windows setup and Windows setup script. If you have questions, please just leave a comment and see you next time.